this post is going to be an introduction to Omega Seeds. I'm going to go into what they are, some of the ways you can find out whether or not you may have connections to Omega, the Omega Galaxy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Omegas are essentially, I don't know how many of you are familiar with scriptures in the Bible that talk about the Alpha and the Omega, which is really Greek. It means the beginning and end. It's really a concept that goes back to Greek mythos and philosophy, and then later adopted by Christianity. But really the concept of the beginning and end being linear yet circular at the same time kind of goes to a lot of different cultures and mythologies, right? And, you know, tying that into the Greek culture also is a Ouroboros with the snake eating its tail. Now, the Omega is essentially, the Omega Galaxy is located at the very top of the cosmic egg universe. So if the abyss is at the bottom, the Omega point's at the top. So it's basically Shiva and Brahma. If we're going to look at it in esoteric terms of Hindu deities, with Vishnu being in the middle, being the sustainer, the neutron, you know, you have the protons at the bottom and the electrons at the top. This is how it operates in an actual atom too. So this would be how we explain it. So when you go into the Omega point or the Omega field, you're talking about that return back to the beginning. So it's the end, but it's also the beginning. And in fact, I just felt like I need to talk about what the literal definition of the word Omega means too, because I feel like that ties in. So the literal definition of Omega in the Greek languages, it's really the grand scale. It's like the great end, right? So ironically, I've always seen the Omega Galaxy at the top, okay? Bring them at that end, circling back around, because again, it's the whole concept of the Ouroboros. But what the Omega Galaxy literally looks like is like a ball of energy. Another representation of this might be Uranus. In Greek mythology, it could be considered Anu as well. And it could be considered the Most High in the Bible, whether you're looking at it, you know, from a Hebrew perspective or a Christian perspective, or both tied together, really doesn't matter. So this is what they mean by the Most High. It also could consider the all-seeing eye. So that big ball of light that sits up there at the top is literally spinning around on that vortex point that goes through the entire cosmic egg universe. So that's the all-seeing eye. It literally can see in 360 degrees. Okay? So the Omegas are essentially infinite beings. They really are, as far as the universe is concerned. In fact, even this term is even used in Marvel Comics to signify all-powerful mutants that pretty much have limitless power. Well, that's the Omegas. So, you know, imagine a being with pretty much limitless power within the context of the universe is concerned, and that's what Omega would be like. Now, the Omega Galaxy can also be a point where souls first enter the galaxy as well. Sometimes it's the first stop point before they move on to different areas, from what I've seen. So, not enter the galaxy, enter the universe. If they came from another universe, or if they're new souls, they may enter through the top of the egg or the bottom of the egg. Either way will get them in. So sometimes it can be like a waiting room for them. It's also more of a collective consciousness from what I've tuned in. So they can tend to speak as one. They can speak as we or I. And yeah, they are considered gods. That is the best word for them. But they are galactic. They are galactic beings. So that is the best way I could explain them. Now, Omegas, as far as identifying them, if I have mentioned the Omega Galaxy as your starting point in any of the readings I did, because remember, when I was saying first incarnation here, first incarnation there, that was my attempt to explain it in human conditions or human terms based on linear thinking, which is Greco-Roman. However, that is not the way it works as far as at a quantum level, and how realities, are stacked on each other like rings or like a spiral, like the saying goes, dance in the spiral. So when you danced the spiral, we would consider, I guess the best way to explain it would be the top of the spiral, right? But it's all the same spiral. So anyway, I digress. If I mentioned you incarnating in the Omega Galaxy, that would make you having Omega connections, being connected to that particular soul family at some level, right? So with that being said, you may find yourself almost feeling like you have cheat codes. It definitely feels alien here. You probably always feel like, okay, I'm snapping my fingers, or I'm thinking this, or literally, I'm blinking, I'm thinking, I'm snapping my fingers, I'm shaking my butt cheeks, whatever. Why isn't this thing instantly manifesting for me? Why can't I dissolve? This person pissed me off. Why can't I just think of their demise and they just, dissolve at an atomic level before my eyes? You're probably an Omega. If you've thought these things like, why is it that I don't have absolute control over space-time continuum and matter itself, then you're probably an Omega. You might also be from the void though too. And void beings, you guys have heard me talk about this before, so I'm not going to get into that with this particular post. And again, we are multidimensional. Even though all of us have different blueprints and cosmic trees, we still have different dimensions to ourselves. So it's possible to be connected to multiple realms at the same time. In fact, it's pretty much guaranteed. It's just what realms, at what level are we connected? So I digress. Point being, these are things that an Omega will think. And an Omega will have an easy time understanding larger concepts. They may have a hard time understanding the way people think, social norms. This can be attributed to any quote-unquote starseed, but for Omegas, it's really extreme. They can vacillate between feeling a lot of compassion and then going extremely cold, because they have that ability to just switch it up on a dime like that. So those are all ways you might find yourself wondering if you're Omega. Definitely the ability to see into multiple realms, having all clairs activated. Again, this can overlap with other reasons, but these are all signs. So if you add them all up, and especially if I've already told you you're connected to the Omega Galaxy in your reading, then that says a lot. So that's basically the description of Omegas. So I hope that helped describe what an Omega seed is. Take care. Check out my website, thetantricdragoness.com, to book a private akashic reading or any other reading. Also, akashic portraits, consultations, shamanic journeys, starseed charts, primordial dragon fire healing, and much more. You can also subscribe to Patreon to learn how to do a lot of this yourself through various templates I've designed. Activate Diamond Consciousness, Activate the Black Flame, Journey the Underworld, Tantric Healing and BDSM, Astral Projection and Power, Shields, Cloaks, Wards, Learning Light Language, Exclusive and Premier Readings, Soul Fragment Retrieval, Advanced Ancestral Work, Creating Your Own Shamanic Sanctuary, and much more. Thanks for your support, and stay tuned for future videos.